I am Hovik Manucharyan from the Groong podcast, and we are entering day 9 of the complete blockade of Artsakh by Azerbaijan. This is a collaborative effort between 168 and Groong in order to bring more English language coverage on this important humanitarian crisis. And today my guest is Dr. Arman Tatoyan, who is the former ombudsman, human rights ombudsman of the Republic of Armenia, and currently he's very active in the field of human rights for Armenians in the Republic of Armenia and Artsakh, especially through his foundation, the Tatoyan Center for Law and Justice. Well, welcome, Dr. Tatoyan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's begin with an overview of what happened over the last few days. As we're recording this discussion, more than 120,000 people remain trapped in the Republic of Artsakh, and for 9 days, Azerbaijan has brazenly blocked all traffic to and fro, hindering delivery of food, critical supplies, and so forth. And yesterday, the ICRC, the International Committee for Red Cross, intervened to transport one patient, we know, a cardiac patient, to Yerevan. And the protester did let that through, but with a lot of cameras rolling, and naturally the Azerbaijani authorities are now using that as an example of their tolerance and that they're not blocking the road. Unfortunately, another individual is not so lucky. We were very sad to hear yesterday that one patient died in the hospital in Stepanakert, and reportedly because it was impossible to get them through the blockade in time. And there are additional individuals in critical need of medical care who are still in Stepanakert. So I would like to begin by asking you, Dr. Tatoyan, as a lawyer and as Armenia's former human rights ombudsman, can you describe what is the responsibility of different sides in this situation, specifically the blockading side? The Azerbaijanis claim that it's the Russians who are blocking it. Sometimes they say it's the Armenians who are blocking the road. But we see a lot of Azerbaijanis in civilian clothing. We don't know yet how many of them. We know at least some of them are in the pay or appear to be in the pay of the government, but they are Azerbaijanis. So what are the legal responsibilities of different governments in this case?
It is very obvious that these people, the citizens of Azerbaijan who blocked the road, these are not activists and not independent people. Mm-hmm. These are leaders of NGOs, members of NGOs, who are financed directly by the government of Azerbaijan and who have already revealed these facts, objective facts that certify. They have, of course, very sensitive and emotional names, these NGOs, like, for example, Public Union for the Protection of Single Persons, of Elderly, and I don't know, these kind of things. But when we go deep into the activities of this organization, they get their fundings either by the government, from the state budget of Azerbaijan, or from funds that are very directly affiliated with the government of Azerbaijan. Apart from this, there are people who are either current military servicemen or soldiers, or members of military, better to say, or former members, but all of them are haters, and they have the deep feelings of Armenophobia. We feel this when we go through their activities and we study the history of their activities, not only rhetorics, statements, but also their intentions, and there are even people who are closely affiliated with Grey Wolves, which is an ultra-nationalistic terrorist organization.
And we've seen their hand signs on the road, whenever.
Not only hand signs, that they have a uniform with the Grey Wolves. And I have to say that this organization, for example, France, which was very, very welcoming phenomenon at that time, during 44-day war, prohibited activities of this organization, given its terroristic nature and criminal nature, because all of us remember how they were literally hunting, and they were trying to find Armenians to cause harm, to kill them, to cause any harm. So these people are definitely, and this blockade is definitely organized by the government of Azerbaijan. This is, it goes without saying even. And we could, I think the important evidence of this also were the requirements or the demands that were, the requirements that were put forward by this group several days ago, when they came up with new requirements of establishing Azerbaijani border crossing points, customs control points, and installing their Ministry of Interior checkpoints at the at the crossing, at the line of the contact, you know, or on the road that is connecting Armenia with Artsakh, and with clear purpose that they to establish let's say Azerbaijani occupation over these territories. And we have also to know that we have to have in mind that this road is the only one that connects Armenia and Artsakh, and this is the live road. It is not all of us already highlight this, and Artsakh is now in and Azerbaijan by this by the way, through these activities is trying, of course, to solve this is a part of a bigger plan, so to say. This is the policy of ethnic cleansing and genocidal policies against the Armenians of Artsakh, and the people of Artsakh, which they do through causing humanitarian catastrophe and disaster. And I have to say that they've changed their tactical approach. So if in the past, let's say some months ago, they were doing the same through soldiers, shootings, military involvement, engagement, now they're positioning themselves as if they have independent people, and now these independent people came with their own requirements, and they are so worried about the environment, so that they raise issues related to human rights or these kind of things. Of course, it has nothing to do with these democratic values. And number one, and of course I have to say that this is also the support of Turkish government. It is very obvious, and when we follow official statements coming both from Turkey and Azerbaijan, this becomes very obvious. And of course, another issue, if we can further develop on this matter, there is very important thing of the reaction of international community, and of course the commitments of the Armenian government as well.
Dr. Tatoyan, we just learned that, and this was announced by Edmond Marokian, Special Ambassador. He announced that Azerbaijanis have installed a checkpoint on the corridor, and there is also news that maybe also the Russian troops may have sort of withdrawn theirs, but I think at the minimum there is news about this Azerbaijani checkpoint. What are the efforts, and why, you know, for someone who is maybe naive or someone who hasn't learned about this, what is the intention of the Azerbaijanis in terms of setting up a checkpoint, and what are the risks for Armenians?
Well, I knew this about this development. I've learned about this development, unfortunately, yesterday, and in the late evening, Azerbaijani authorities already brought some booths and they installed them already in these places. And for me, it was already clear that here they want to install, to launch some customs and border control functions, which is, of course, very worrying development. And it means that so they are going to exercise these functions against the people of Artsakh. It entails not only checking humanitarian assistance, different goods, or even trucks, but also I'm afraid they have the intention also to control movement of civilians,
right?
Through checking their vehicles, searches. And if it goes like that, it means that they will have also the authority, or they will have, at least they will try to exercise the authority of detaining people, of stopping them, of trying to search them. And of course, given the hatred policies and the genocidal policies that they have been exercising against us, it means that there will be, I think, plenty of unlawful activities, including interference and violation, gross violation of the rights of our compatriots, without legal proceedings even.
Yes.
because Azerbaijan is such a country that does not, their legal system itself is functioning with deficiencies. We have certification about this of international reports, organizations, but especially when it comes to Armenia, their system doesn't work at all.
I mean, there's widespread hatred of Armenians.
No, not only this fact, but otherwise, every time when Azerbaijanis torture our prisoners of war, or when there are cases of killings or other gross violations, why we apply immediately to the European Court of Human Rights without even thinking to apply to Azerbaijani authorities, because their system is not effective for us at all. And it has zero effects, and there will be immediate rejection, illegal immediate rejection. And now I wonder if they start exercising these functions, and if there is, I'm sure there will be unlawful interferences with the rights of our compatriots. So I wonder here, what would be the legal remedies or the mechanisms to protect the rights of our compatriots? So this is another form or a step forward towards the blockading, isolating, I would say, it's a better word maybe in this context, isolating completely Artsakh from the outside world, because this is a legal kind of, from their perspective, a legal, but in a huge brackets, a legal way for them to isolate Artsakh through government so-called functions of, customs or border control. And I think I have suspicion that their ultimate goal is also to install their law enforcement functions, to launch law enforcement functions.
Maybe not initially, but gradually they will introduce
more customs control and border control functions already entail law enforcement functions. Proceedings, legal proceedings, so which I think they will do everything to use these functions again to isolate Artsakh, because the ultimate goal is not to check and to find, to reveal cases of unlawful, circulation or unlawful movement or these kind of things, because I'm confident that there are no grounds for this. But the purpose is again very political, to isolate Artsakh to cut all the ties from the outside world through these measures.
And for our listeners, I just want to say that I think Azerbaijan considers any sort of person who fought in the 44-day war as a potential criminal, and it has launched criminal cases against Arayik Harutyunyan, David Babayan, the former minister, and basically the entire upper echelon of the Artsakh government would be at risk. So I don't see how the Artsakh government would recognize it or would allow this to happen, and most likely this is happening without their consent. Ruben Vartanian has many times said that we will not sort of make any compromise in this situation. But I guess we're looking at the choice of either sort of starving the Armenians or imposing these additional conditions which are going to be violations of the human rights of Armenians. And from that perspective, I want to sort of go to the next question, which is the United Nations Security Council, which is due to meet today or has already met. This is the second meeting, because Saturday there was a closed meeting at the request of France, I believe. And today, I think Armenia has requested a new meeting, and this one may be open. What is your expectation from the United Nations Security Council? What can they do to...
Well, United Nations Security Council and its members, I think they must recognize, they must highlight and recognize the exact situation and give their assessments, which should be to the point and reflect the situation on the ground completely. But I want to say that statements here, only statements, are not sufficient. And the practice shows that countries that make statements, or when countries only make statements and not practical steps are followed. Here I mean specifically, for instance, measures towards imposing sanctions. This can be economic sanctions, political sanctions, not only economic sanctions against the government of Azerbaijan, but also against the personal engagement of the officials of the Azerbaijani authorities that compose the Azerbaijani power, let's say political power, so that and also even sanctions of criminal responsibility nature. These sanctions only will bring effectiveness to the case. Otherwise, mere statements, calls, I'm more than confident that they will not be helpful in this context, because Azerbaijan has already shown to the world and to all of us that there is no trust towards them. There can be no trust, and even if you dare to trust, they will definitely violate all the agreements, and they will anyway impose their policies of genocidal policies, occupation policies, which goes also through, of course, these activities.
And we also know that Armenia has also petitioned the European Court on Human Rights, requesting an interim measure to unblock the corridor. The deadline for that was yesterday. Are you aware of any news on that front? And assuming the ECHR have any power to mandate Azerbaijan to unblock the corridor, what can we expect on that front? Or is it going to be another sort of political?
Applying to the European Court of Human Rights was a very important step, I have to say, from the representative of Armenia on international matters. It was important that the European Court of Human Rights imposed interim measures and requested information from the government of Azerbaijan with the specific deadline. The deadline was set for 19 of December, but unfortunately there is no positive development towards this direction. Well, I think we have to closely follow the development of the situation, and again, this development related to the European Court of Human Rights anyway is important. Although Azerbaijan, immediately after the war, during the war, I mean specifically 44-day war, showed several times that they ignore European Court of Human Rights requirements and statements. They even provide false information to the European Court of Human Rights, which was certified, which was highlighted by the court in their application to the European Committee to the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. But anyway, the practice also shows that in some cases, this involvement of international courts does help in solving certain issues, or at least in bringing them at least to some extent in accordance with international law. So I very much hope that there will be also positive development in this regard.
Let's talk about the roles and responsibilities. We talk about different governments, but I want to focus now on the Armenian government. The Armenian authorities have in the past repeatedly placed the entire responsibility on what happens on the Russian peacekeepers. In fact, this was underscored again by Arman Tatoyan, chairman of the National Security Council of Armenia, yesterday in response to Artsakh Minasyan's questions in Parliament. What do you think is the role of the Armenian government in securing safety 120,000 Armenians in Artsakh?
I think the state of Armenia and the government of Armenia, of course, has its own responsibility and commitments, great responsibility to protect life and security of our compatriots. Over 120,000 of Armenians who are now isolated in Artsakh. We have so many things to do now. We have to organize proper activities, awareness-raising activities, first of all, by showing to the world the individual stories, showing to the world concrete violations of international law, collecting and documenting evidence of war crimes, of these policies, and of course trying to show to the world, or doing everything to show to the world what is happening in reality. I mean, not only here on general meetings with officials, but also they have to be very specific by showing all the details of the situation. And I have the Armenian government has the commitment to protect the integral part of our nation, because the people of Artsakh, they are integral part of the entire people of Armenia, and Armenian people, Armenian nation. And of course I do not, yes, we have legal grounds to claim assistance and support from international community. This is very important. That is why you probably, I'm confident you are following very closely the events that are developing in front of the UN House, where there are certain civil elections. But nevertheless, despite these commitments of international community, which we want to reach their reaction, their proper practical steps, Armenian government has also its own responsibility and commitment. Because actions of Azerbaijan are not, or the policies are not only directed against, an isolated phenomena only against Artsakh, but this is against Armenia as well, and this is against Armenianism, I would say, even the Armenian world. Even Armenians of diaspora, Armenian diaspora is targeted now, and we could clearly see how during the war Azerbaijani Turkish paramilitary groups were literally hunting and trying to find Armenians to, as I said, to kill them, to cause some harm. So that is why all of us should be united, and the Armenian government, I'm more than confident that has and this is very well justified, that has the primary responsibility to organize and to lead the struggle against these policies of ethnic cleansing and the genocidal policies of Azerbaijan.
And given that they have this responsibility, how would you assess their performance, vis-a-vis that responsibility? Even if we were 100% sure that the Russians are, responsible, there's always that claim that, what's going to happen next is, it's going to be Zangezur, it's going to be southern Armenia that's at risk.
This is the ultimate goal of the Azerbaijani government or the authorities of Azerbaijan. They're as they announce their strategic and political purpose. I just wanted to make one addition. I think that definitely the mandate of the Russian peacekeepers must be extended, definitely, and must be strengthened, which is very important, at least for the protection of their mandate, legal mandate. I think they have to be, and there should be a legal mandate to impose force, which is very important, because peacekeeping forces are for this specific purpose. On the other hand, yes, we have also, of course, also legal grounds to claim protection from international community, because all the rules that have been developed throughout all this time were exactly by the governments that are now that compose now the Security Council of the United Nations. So these are the governments that have developed all the rules of international law, and these are the rules that protect human rights, that consider human rights universal values, and protect security of people, regardless of the fact whether certain territory is politically recognized or not. This is very important. And there is also a very important concept which is called status neutral. It means that regardless of the status of the concrete territory, political status, whether it is a recognized government or not, rights of people must be protected. The rights of people who live there, because there we also have, women, children, elderly, people, right to education, right to healthcare, and all these rights must be protected and ensured. And currently we see right to life, first of all, security. And currently we see that unfortunately all of these rights, first of all, right to life and security, are endangered. Endangered, and there is no perspective that these human rights and security issues will be protected, that there are long-term guarantees, because we need long-term guarantees for the protection of our compatriots, because we have no guarantees that this corridor will not be blocked again in a week, let's say, especially when the information is spread already that the Azerbaijanis have installed or trying to install their customs checkpoints. Especially it becomes very urgent now, because it means that they are trying to install these functions on permanent basis, which is even more dangerous, because they will be in charge of checking and controlling each and every movement, each and every vehicle even, and there are no possibilities to verify whether they stop them illegally or no, what is their purpose, and that is why I consider this absolutely dangerous, and which requires, of course, urgent reaction,
Right.
urgent solution.
Even Pashinyan, who says Artsakh Armenians are not his responsibility, has said that Azerbaijan is planning a genocide against Artsakh Armenians, and others say that it's already in progress. Do you believe that a new genocide of Armenians is in progress? And how do we sort of, what should be the immediate steps that Armenia should do? You did say that it was Armenia's responsibility, but given our military situation right now, what can we do concretely?
Well, it is, of course, the responsibility of Armenia as well. And I was saying that this is the government has the commitment to organize all this struggle against it. But there's also, of course, the responsibility of peacekeeping forces, responsibility of international community, given all the regulations of international law. So now when it comes to the question whether there is genocide in progress or whether we have to expect still genocide or is to come. Genocide, when we say genocidal policies or genocide doesn't mean only physical killing or torturing people, physical torture. Of course not. Genocide is also, whatever is happening now is part of a genocidal policy. And when we say a genocidal policy is in progress, of course. This is also one of the forms of genocide, when they isolate people and they want to exterminate them through these means. So that to do everything that these people leave territory of Nagorno-Karabakh for the fear in Artsakh, for the, because of fear for their lives, for the life of their families, security problems, and because they want Artsakh, they want Nagorno-Karabakh not for without Armenians, definitely. And this is at the core of this problem. There is a ethnic problem, ethnic issue, because Azerbaijani genocidal policies are based on two grounds: ethnic ground and religious ground, which is also very important. These are very integral part of the genocide, or the concept of genocide, and they are very openly showing that this is, by the way, not only genocidal. Yeah, genocidal policy is in progress, and but here we have to have in mind that there is also there is also fascist even nature of these genocidal policies, because there is complete hatred, not only generated and sponsored by the authorities of Azerbaijan, but highly encouraged by public figures, famous or popular writers, popular singers, and everything is boiled, I would say, even in the society of Azerbaijan, inside the society of Azerbaijan. That is why causing harm to an Armenian is a matter of praise, and these people become heroes. And by the way, very recently, I was following, and very recently some results of public surveys were announced, and quite significant. Most part of the Azerbaijani people do not imagine themselves living in the same state together with Armenians, which is also very important. So that the people of Azerbaijan also do not imagine themselves, cannot understand this, they cannot accept this, that they may live in the same state together with Armenians. This is also a very important factor. That means that these people, our Armenians of Artsakh, Artsakh and Artsakh cannot be part of Azerbaijan, also given these reasons.
Okay, let's switch our attention to the issue of POWs. Pashinyan's government essentially seems to be content with just sort of complaining to any sympathetic organization, diplomat that could sort of that would hear them, but we have seen very little action. For more than 2 years, we have, by some accounts, tens, by other accounts, hundreds, more than 100 Armenians that are kept as prisoners of war, or actually even hostages in Azerbaijan, in Baku. It seems that this memory is even being erased from public discourse. In a conversation a couple of days ago, Sinan Rusalhakan asserted that there are 113 prisoners who have not returned home. Yet Nikol Pashinyan continues to repeat Ilham Aliyev's claim that there are 39 POWs, and hasn't done more than just periodic statements about POWs, and not even consistently. In fact, Hungary has done more to bring Armenian POWs home than the Armenian government, I would say. And that was there's a lot of politics behind that too. We know Hungary's role in allowing axe murderer Ramil Safarov to be released. But can you comment on the state of the POWs, the current negotiations for, to bring them back?
Azerbaijan continues to illegally keeping Armenian POWs, prisoners of war, in prisons of Baku. These people are detained illegally because, according to international law, any legal proceeding, including, and first of all, criminal prosecutions against prisoners of war is not allowed, and they should have been repatriated immediately after the end of the cessation of hostilities, military hostilities. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because Azerbaijan is actively using the issue of prisoners of war to gain public and, first of all, political and military benefits out of it. They're using them in public negotiations, diplomatic negotiations, in relations with other governments. There is even very famous conversation of the First Lady of Turkey and the President of Azerbaijan when they, in their exchange of, or in their conversation, the First Lady of Turkey asks whether there are other prisoners of war. The President of Azerbaijan confirms that there are prisoners of war, and then she proposes, she says that then keep them and give them part by part to Armenia, but instead you may get, it is said in a sense that instead you may get political and military different benefits, meaning at that time mind maps. Unfortunately, of course, there were much more Armenians under the detention or detained illegally by the special forces of Azerbaijan. Than the number that is confirmed, but we know nothing about the destiny of these people. We can only, or we have solid grounds to believe that these people either were killed and were tortured to death, or to some extent also Azerbaijan may hide them from international community. But definitely some part of them, quite significant part of them, was killed, of course, and or tortured to death by the special forces, security forces of Azerbaijan. And we even see there are plenty of videos where filmed by themselves, Azerbaijani military servicemen, how they're torturing Armenian prisoners of war, how they're killing them. And by the way, in these videos, they are with open faces, very cynically, very openly demonstrating that there is no punishment and that they're confident that there will be no punishment for these war crimes.
Have there been any criminal cases launched against those individuals?
No, of course. There were no criminal cases. There was only one criminal case launched. There was a public statement based on the results of the criminal case was launched on the occasion of killing Armenian prisoners of war during this recent war of September 13 and 14. All of us remember this very horrible video, how our Azerbaijanis executing Armenian prisoners of war who are not armed even. And Azerbaijani military prosecutor's office announced that they've launched criminal proceedings as if there was the naive, some people even were so naive from international community to believe that there will be proper investigation. But in several days after this announcement, Azerbaijani authorities stated that this video is fake and is fabricated, and that there are no grounds to believe that this video is true, so the case was closed, of course. And it is obvious, who would believe that Azerbaijani authorities would conduct proper investigation when it comes to the protection of the rights of Armenians vis-a-vis Azerbaijani military servicemen who committed this crime. And that is why, this, and they continue keeping Armenian prisoners of war illegally, and they ignore any legal mechanism, and they use only them for political and military purposes. I don't know, at the request of some countries. We had the experience when they repatriated or sent back to Armenia 5 prisoners of war at the request of intermediate, let's say, or mediation, better to say, of Hungary, for example. It was very obvious that it is done for the political purposes. For Hungary, it was important to show that they are for human rights, and they that they are so generous that they requested repatriation of 5 Armenian prisoners of war. It's very apparent that this is also for political relations, of these two countries.
Yeah, even Armenian government officials happily participated in the charade, trying to sort of paint Hungary as a great humanitarian country. See, they helped us, bring 5 prisoners back.
Well, we remember very well how the extradition of Ramil Safarov.
Right.
And we remember very well the judgment of the European Court of Human Rights. At least I think politically there should be apologies for this, or I don't know, some recognition by the government of Hungary, some commitment that this will never have a repeat, this will never happen again. That they regret about this. I don't know, some kind of recognition, but unfortunately I haven't heard about it. And I know only about the two facts, that there was the extradition and there was the fact of the European Court of Human Rights judgment recognizing, acknowledging gross violations of international law and internationally recognized human rights of Gurgen Markaryan, who was killed with axe.
So about the POWs, if we all remember Maral Najarian, she was one of the female prisoner who was, after much negotiation by the Lebanese government, released, and she just issued an alert about her husband, Viken Yiljekian, who is still in the prisons of Baku, and she was complaining about his health and there are serious risks. It's obvious that an Armenian prisoner in Baku is, their health is not going to get better, it's going to get worse. But just to clarify this issue about the number of prisoners, the official number from Baku is 39, but Armenian human rights defenders, including Sinan Sahakian, say 113. Can you tell us what that number 113 is based on? Is there incontrovertible proof that these people were in Azerbaijani custody? Do we have that?
Yes,
proof?
these are, we count the first moment when people become, how we consider whether a person is prisoner of war or not. We take as the first moment, or as the start, the first moment when Armenian military serviceman or a civilian becomes under the control of Azerbaijani soldier or the government of Azerbaijan. So the first moment of becoming under the control is the starting point of counting them as prisoners of war or civilian captives. And this number, which is over 100, of course, as you announced, is based on these calculations and on these provisions, let's say, which are, by the way, provided by the international law. And unfortunately, we have evidence. We have two categories of people here. People who are under detention and as prisoners of war based on objective evidence. I mean here videos, photos. We see in videos that these people are under the control of Azerbaijani military as a prisoner of war, but then Azerbaijan didn't confirm this. So it means that either they killed this person or tortured to death, I don't know, or they're just hiding them from international community. Another group of people constitute people whom we know that these people were under the control, but not based on objective evidence, but based on statements of other military servicemen, for example, or I don't know, or other evidence, but not objective. So this is the second group of people. Or let's say some confirmations coming, for example, from the investigation committee, from human rights defender, from lawyers. So these kind of some statements of other prisoners of war. And Azerbaijan did not confirm, of course, these people. And as I said, it means either these people were killed later by Azerbaijan, being already under the control of Azerbaijan. I want to highlight this. This is a very important point. Being already under the control. Or they're just hiding them from international community, which we cannot verify, unfortunately, because there are no sufficient and effective international legal protection remedies that could operate effectively in Azerbaijan. There's only Red Cross, which is, yes, there is some activity, they visit them, but given the nature of their activities, the confidentiality and all these principles, this remedy or international protection of the rights of our compatriots doesn't work properly, unfortunately.
Last question, in terms of the hostages or POWs, there are a number of international conventions that are relevant here. Can you tell us the current state of where Armenia is in terms of, are they appealing to international authorities? Are they going to the ICJ, for instance, to bring a case against Azerbaijan?
There is an application of the Armenian government submitted to International Court of Justice, ICJ. I know that there were additional submissions to this court. There is also, as we discussed at the beginning of this interview, there are also certain applications and submissions to the European Court of Human Rights. Apart from this, of course, we are now talking about Artsakh and about the Berzor corridor, but when it comes to Armenia, we know that Azerbaijan also invaded Armenia, and there are certain occupied territories of Armenia. They committed war crimes being already inside the territory of Armenia. That is why I think it is also very important to ratify the statute of the International Criminal Court, or at least to recognize the jurisdiction for a certain period of time of this International Criminal Court, which would have, I think, positive effects for the prevention of possible war crimes against our nation, and I think would increase the level of engagement of Armenia with international structures and international legal protection mechanisms. Because at least, yes, there are certain politics, there is a political issue, and Azerbaijan is definitely pursuing its all political interests, but at least these legal and judicial especially mechanisms, they do matter, and they are very important in terms of increasing legal protection of our people, of our country.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Tatoyan. Thank you for watching and listening. This was a collaboration between Groong and 168 Hours. Please feel free to share this information to your social media network, and if you're new to Groong, follow us on podcasts.groong.org. Thank you very much.